Hello, everybody. Good morning. I'm Grace Bubeck, and this is the Easter retreat on the theme of if Jesus were alive today, would he be a non-dual spiritual teacher? So welcome, and I hope this is going to be a good retreat for you. I hope it'll be interesting in what it throws up for you. And I hope that how can I say that? I hope that it will help you to be more seated in your experience of this great mystery that this life is and that we all share in. So that's my wish for this day. And you know what? I just realized I'm going to have to turn off my other computer in the other office. So bear with me for 1 second. I'll be back with you very shortly. Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that. I could just hear the YouTube broadcast from the other room, and it was going to interfere with the sound. So here I am again. So I'll suggest that we start by meditating, just to settle into being together, into the session, to settle into our own being. I will just say a few things at the beginning to guide you into the meditation. And if you find them helpful, follow them. If not, just do whatever meditation you usually do, whatever works for you. So yeah, settle into your seat, wherever you're sitting. Settle into your being. Close your eyes. And allow yourself to just feel that you are here. Whatever brought you here is no longer happening. Whatever happened before you turned in is no longer happening. No need to keep it alive. And notice the sensations of sitting. Back being supported. Legs resting on a chair or on another surface. Notice also what's happening in your body, any sensations that may be there. Pleasant, unpleasant, neutral. And see whether you can just allow them to be there for now. Notice your breathing. Notice your thoughts. No problem with any of them. You can see them arise, be there, and pass without attaching to them, without running with the thoughts. Just letting them pass through like clouds in the sky. And realizing that you are much bigger than your thoughts, just as the sky is vast compared to the clouds that pass through it. And as you settle in, settle into yourself. Self that includes everything. The body, the emotions, the thoughts. And yet that is much vaster than any of them. Being that is as vast as the universe. I will meditate for about 10 minutes. So slowly, when you're ready, come back to this shared reality. Open your eyes. And here we are. Here we are in this exploration of this question that seems very focused. If Jesus were alive today, what would he be teaching? And really, by saying if he were alive today, I mean if he were in a body today, because I take it that he is alive in spirit. And so let me fill you in maybe on the background to this question, on my own background, my own experience. I grew up Protestant, and so in Germany, Lutheran, and so I was very religious as a child. I just believed in God. It was like no doubt for me that there was something, that there was a reality there. And my parents were very religious, still are. They go to church and they're very active, good Christians. So I grew up with this belief in God. I'm not so sure that Jesus was so present for me at that time. And then when I came to be in my teens, I just left all of this. It just somehow wasn't meaningful for me anymore. And then I became very political, and I wasn't going to be seen near any church or any religious institution, because I believed that religion was the opium of the people. In my political arrogance, not really knowing what I was talking about, because I had so disconnected from the reality, the spiritual reality of what religions are trying to capture, what religions are talking about. And so, to cut a long story short, at some point I realized I needed to do something about my stress levels. I started meditating. I started going to a Buddhist community, Buddhist center. And for about a decade, I was involved in Buddhist, in the Buddhist community, going on Buddhist retreats, meditating increasingly long periods of time during the day. And when I came to Canada, somehow all this stopped, because I couldn't find a Buddhist community that was that really drew me. And so for a while I was just doing my meditation, and at some point when I did feel the need to go on retreat, I went to a Christian monastery close to Montreal. And that was okay, but not a big deal for me. I mean, all the Christian trappings, the chanting was beautiful, but the rest was still just very foreign to me. And then it so happened that I got new neighbors where I lived. They were young and they wanted to play their music, and I had a lot of difficulty with them. And I did what I usually try to do, what we try to do when we're in our egoic little minds. I tried to talk to them as a way of getting them to turn the music down and to keep the volume low, because I was also seeing clients at home and I needed to be quiet. And none of this worked. And the more I tried to talk to them, the worse it got. So my usual strategy just didn't work at all. And I was feeling very desperate. And also I just went back into an old pattern of just kind of hating them, and in my mind just not being able to hold them as human beings with respect. And so one day in my meditation, Jesus arrives. I wouldn't say as a vision, because I'm not very visual, but there was a presence. And really the presence was him pointing, showing me his heart. And saying to me, you don't need to hate your neighbors, you can love them. And communicating to me the quality of heart that I could be in, that would be open to allowing them to be as they are, and even loving them. But that was way beyond me at the time. But I got it, that it was possible, at the very least, not to hate them, to develop a more neutral stance. So this kept happening. He just kept showing me his heart. And it's not at all when something like this happens, when you have an experience like this, it's like you can't doubt it. It's so real. And I couldn't have possibly made it up, because, Jesus was far from my mind and just really not at all present, not at all real. And yet here he was, very real, communicating to me. And the experiences of heart quality and heart opening that came with that were just very profound. I mean, they really allowed me to let go of this lifelong habit that was quite strong. I really loved hating people that I didn't like. So there was something very passionate and very kind of strong in me that wanted to dislike people that weren't like they were supposed to be. A strong habit, you could also say, probably a karmic heritage that was there. And So that just changed over time. And as these experiences continued happening, somehow the presence of Jesus became more real, and it was like he was almost like a teacher to me at that point, or a guide, because I started asking him different things, and there would be some kind of answer. And also, this was a time when there was a more general spiritual opening and awakening happening for me. A time of a lot of meditation, and I just felt the need really to be in kind of partial sabbatical mode, and really being very meditative, very quiet. So as time continued, somehow I also explored, I started going to Mass in the local Catholic church. But, after a while, I realized that was really not my path. And here I was, there was this reality of Jesus, and at the same time, there was a realization that the Christian religion and tradition just didn't speak to me enough. And it's interesting because as I was reading Adyashanti's book on resurrecting Jesus, he says something very similar, that somehow he has a heart connection to the Christian tradition, specifically to one Christian saint, and also this fascination with the Jesus story, as he says it, as he puts it. But he never felt drawn to the Christian, any of the Christian churches either. And I should say, of course, there's differences between different churches, and there are churches that are more open, obviously. But for me, it was clear that wasn't my path. And so from that moment on, or from that time on, it was just very obvious to me that Jesus is very alive and able to connect with people and to teach them, or to help them, be there for them in a way that is very real. That's like, I have no doubt about that, and at the same time, sometime later, as I connected with another one of my teachers who was no longer in a body, and that was Shivananda, an Indian teacher, well known for his disciples that came to the West and started various yogic traditions, among them the Shivananda yoga and the integral yoga, and so on, so forth. And what happened is, that's one of the ways that these beings that are not necessarily, that are no longer in a body, how they communicate with us and how they become present to us. What happened was that I was seeing I looked at a photo of Shivananda, and it came alive, and the presence, the essence of his energy and his presence communicated itself to me, and it was very similar to that of Jesus. Very sweet, loving, peaceful energy. And you may be aware that this is often what happens. Many people report that when seeing a photo of Ramana Maharshi, for example. That similarly, that that image comes alive for them. And of course, for Christian people, this is what the saints have been. This is the way that the saints come alive to them too. And in fact, for Adyashanti, this is how one of the saints, Saint Therese de Lisieux, that's the saint that he says he fell in love with. He just had this total heart connection with her and heart opening as he was connecting with her. So there's a mystery there. How is that possible? And yet it is possible throughout the ages, throughout times. There have always been these connections. Outside of the church, inside of the church, doesn't matter. Outside of that religious tradition, inside of that religious tradition. And as the cultures intermingle a lot more, the Eastern tradition, the Western tradition, we make connections across these traditions also. Like you will hear from Francis Bennett that he has a very strong connection to Ramana Maharshi, for example. So there is this presence. There is this presence, and you will, of Jesus, and you will hear from Gina later on today how that is for her also, as she connects with him and writes what he communicates through her. So I just come back to this mystery, somehow that seems to be, as I was meditating this morning, that was the theme that just came to me. There's such a mystery in how we can be in bodies and yet spirit communicates in ways that is just not understandable to our rational minds. And so we can just shut our minds to that and say, oh, it's not real. Or we can be open to that. We can at least keep an open mind. And in that open mind, be open to what speaks to us, what feels real to us, and what may reveal itself to us also. Because in that openness, the communication may happen, or the realization may happen of one of those beings. There are many around that are there to help us. In the Buddhist tradition, the bodhisattvas are beings that have been in a body and that have vowed, even though they reached enlightenment, to come back and to continue to be available until each and every being in all of the worlds and all times have reached enlightenment, have woken up. It's a beautiful vow. And it's, my sense is that Jesus is there in the same way to help us awaken to what is real, what is true. And that is his essential teaching, as I understand it. The essential teaching is the kingdom of heaven is within. And so real being, real life is within. It's never to be found outside. And we can reach outside and we can, see that energy that reaches out, that looks outside, for fulfillment, for peace, for joy, for love, for happiness. And it's very interesting, for myself, I can still see that reaching that happens, that energy that goes out somewhere. And when you're more aware of it, of course, you just call it back. Call it back and somehow in that calling it back, it can touch back into where the real thing is. can come back to heaven within, to peace within, to joy that has no cause, that just is. It's the joy of being. To love that has no cause. It just is. And it just wants to express. It just wants to reach out. Not to get something, but to give. So I'll pause here for a moment and I'll see, I'm just going to check whether any of you have any comments or questions. I'm just looking here. Okay, so there's Karen. Hi, Karen. Happy you're here too. From Sedona, Arizona. Wonderful. And there's Kathy De Silva. Yeah, hi Kathy. Welcome. And Andina Sears from the UK. She'd love to join the Hangout. Andina, would you like to come on now? So, yeah, I'll just see. I'll see whether I can invite you. Then there's Lodewijk Langeweg. I'm not sure I've pronounced your name correctly. Who says, what if incarnating were like dying and a crucifixion compared to our original state in God? So that as God we have all given our life for the human we knew we would be experiencing being here. I'm not sure I understand that, Ludovic. Can you maybe just say that, maybe repeat that question in a different way? I mean, what I understand is, from the first question, is yes, incarnating in a way is like dying in a crucifixion, because there is as we come into a body, we come into a form of existence that will to some extent contain suffering, will bring suffering, because that is the human condition. So I understand, and I think I think it's real. I mean, that's my sense of it. That incarnating is a form of dying to the fullness of being, to the fullness of spirit. And the beauty of it is that we can then find that fullness of spirit again as we wake up, as we open to that fullness more fully, as we wake up out of the dream of the confined human existence that's confined to survival, to the body, to the mind. And as that opens up, you know, maybe we're resurrecting. We're kind of coming back into the fullness of being, the fullness of life. I don't know whether that answers your question, but that's what came to me to say. And Joanne, good morning from Quebec City, who shares, one Easter morning a long time ago, when I woke up, I realized I had just dreamt that I was having breakfast alone with Jesus. What a blessing it was. Oh, thank you for sharing that, Joanne. Yes, it's amazing how there is connection that happens. Seemingly through dreams, but it's very real. So, there's John Troy. Hi, John, who asks, is Jesus an other? You know, John, I will ask that. I will ask Francis that question too. Remind me if I forget. You know, there's many realms of the dual existence, the existence that is individuated. And in those realms, yes, Jesus is an other. I mean, you know, in the sense that he was in a body, he's an other. In the sense that he's still here as a recognizable presence, he is an other. But of course, in his expression of being, of divinity, he is one with us, with all expressions of that divinity. That's what I would say, but that's a short answer. And I will put that to Francis. I know you have your communications with him via internet, so we can continue that as he is live. So Lodewijk says, in short, what if the whole Christ story is a symbolic pointing to who our true being is, and to remind us of what we have really done and still are doing for these humans, that our love is that great? Yes. You know, we can see the story of Jesus as a myth, as symbolic for our own lives and our own existence. And this is how Adyashanti talks about Jesus, and the Jesus story, as he calls it. And that can be very, what's the word? That can speak to us very deeply too. That's another way of looking at this question. And, yes, absolutely. In Christian terms, I think that would, they would say, we're all sisters and brothers of Jesus. And what he lived, what he's been capable of, we are capable of. So in that sense, it could be a symbolic pointing. Absolutely. And Joanne says, around midnight last night, I was in meditation and I had a vision of Jesus' heart in my own heart. And I started weeping and couldn't stop. Yes, he's really touched your heart. And, as our hearts are touched, they open so widely and they become so vast. That's the gift of the heart of love. So thank you to all of you for sharing. And I have to come to a close for this session because I need to bring Francis Bennett on for the next session, which starts on the hour. And so I'll see you in about 10 minutes time. Until then, bye-bye. Oh, and I just wanted to say, for those who are watching and aren't very clear about what, who just kind of happened to find this live broadcast, this is the first session of an online live retreat on the question, if Jesus were alive today, would he be a non-dual spiritual teacher? And so this is the end of the first session. We're continuing in 10 minutes with Francis Bennett. So join us again then. You will find you can still register if you go to www.living-from-love.com. You can still register and you will get all the links for the other sessions after having registered. So until soon, bye-bye.